So, welcome to your Integrative Kundalini Reiki experience. If we've not formally met before, my name is Amanda Delacqua. I'm amazing business partners with Sandra Grace. And as a few of you heard offline just moments before we hit record, my background is definitely inside of learning and development and online self expression, and also had the absolute pleasure of learning energy management from my phenomenal business partner. So I too was Sandra Grace's student at one point in time. And since we've partnered inside the business, I've had the opportunity to bring Reiki to not only my clients, UC and Kundalini, I also had the opportunity to do inside the business. So wanted to formally welcome you to today. I'm going to hand it over to Sandra Grace in just a moment for her to also welcome you. But if you've not yet set yourself up with having either a journal, something to write with, position yourself in a comfortable place, one where you may choose to lie down at some point. This will be an experiential opportunity for you, so you may choose to lie down at some point. If you have a glass of water or any other items that you enjoy, like essential oils or anything like that, that you'd like to have with you, you're more than welcome to. So if you need to take a moment to pause this recording, go and get those and come back, feel free to. And for those of you who are still here and ready to get going, I'm going to hand it over to Sandra Grace, and she's going to give you a welcome and tell you a little bit about what we're going to experience today.
Well, good morning. I have been honored to work with Amanda for several years now, and everything that we have learned together and we've grown together just gets better and better as we partner. And one of the things I love about it is that I had been serving as Kundalini Reiki master teacher for some time, and it was only after partnering with Amanda that we had the realization, this is going to be so like, aha, you're going to go, really, Sandra, you never thought of this? But she constantly amazes me in these ways. When we realized we really want to teach Kundalini in an integrative way, because we are integrative practitioners, and every part of our business, everything we do, whether it's, if you haven't been a part of, Amanda does a really beautiful hypno-restorative yoga in which she takes an integrative approach. And when we teach courses and we teach teach classes, we take an integrative approach. And so Kundalini Reiki is no different than the rest in that. Many of you that are watching this video have probably already done some UC Shiki Ryoho Reiki before, or have shared in that experience with me before. If you haven't, that's okay. You don't have to have any background in energy work in order to have interest in this, but I know that many watching will. And so the question is, why would I want to learn Kundalini? Why is it different? How is it different than other forms of Reiki? And I will have an opportunity to talk to you about that later. First, Amanda is going to do a great job of getting you grounded and settled on this Saturday morning and ready to really be present with us in the class. Then I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about Kundalini Reiki, how it differs from other forms of Reiki, which I'm also a master teacher. And then we're going to get into what all you can do with Kundalini Reiki. And we're going to talk about that. Then Amanda is going to circle back, and she's going to give you a Kundalini Reiki experience if you wish to enjoy it. And I think you're really going to love that. So Amanda, that's all I have to say for now. And when you're ready for me to share some more, just let me know.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sandra. So as Sandra said, yes, there are multiple different modalities within energy management. And through our integrative approach and through our number of different courses that we offer, we always weave in the integrative approach. So it's physical, structural, mental, emotional, spiritual, and your values. And Sandra will speak more about that, I'm certain, and I'll speak more about it as we go through the session. What we're going to do, though, is our first experience together. So if you have your journal handy, or a Post-it note or piece of paper, or if you're taking notes on your phone, go ahead and grab that right now. And if that isn't available to you for some reason at this point in time, you can also do this mentally. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you an opportunity to create a clearing, a space for what it is that you are going to experience the next hour, for what it is that you're going to experience beyond this, really creating an opportunity for you to set the tone for your day. We're going to first start out with acknowledging whatever there is to acknowledge in this space and time. So I'm going to invite you on this journal page, on this Post-it note, whatever it is, choosing a fresh sheet, whether it's a note on your phone. And I'm going to invite you to start to capture some of the things that have been in your brain recently. And this is all inside of a commitment to create space for the next thing, for the opportunity to create. And so I'm going to guide you with a few things to consider. And that might be just capturing and releasing, or just allowing space for you to acknowledge anything that has happened up until this time that we're together, whether it's the recording or you're here with us live, anything that you want to capture that has happened, and whatever your experience has been. Anything that is looming on your to-do list, things that you're like, oh my goodness, okay, I really wanted to get that done this day, or, I'd been meaning to do this week, or, oh my goodness, I should text message this person back. Just go ahead and capture that on the piece of paper or on your note, and giving yourself that opportunity to go ahead and just capture all of it. And also on that note, I'm going to invite you to capture anything that you know that you are aware of in regards to your mental, emotional, anything that is weighing on you recently, whether it's been with a transition, with the seasons, with the energy, anything inside of your personal life, professional. All of it is valuable. Just go ahead and capture it. And then feel free to go ahead and capture what it is that you would like to receive, create, acknowledge, release inside of this session, inside of doing this work for yourself. It might be the reason why you joined the call. It might be a fully new intention that's just coming to you in this moment. And it might be a physical, structural, it might be something that's happening in your body. It might be mental, emotional. It might even be spiritual, or in regards to your values of why you showed up. Go ahead and just capture all of that. And I'll give you about 20 more seconds to go ahead and capture anything else that you'd like to, all inside of the commitment of creating space for you to receive throughout this session. So anything else that might be there for you. And as you start to wrap that up, I'm going to invite you to either turn the page, fold that paper over, whatever it may be. And at the end of the session, I will remind you of this piece of paper in case there's anything on there, like your to-do list that you know that you wanted to do. I'll remind you at the end so that you have the opportunity to circle back and tend to those things. And so you can put that in a safe space. And then when you're ready, coming back to the screen. And I'm going to hand it over to Sandra Grace to speak a little bit more about Integrative Kundalini Reiki and integrative approach and all the amazing things.
One of the beautiful things that we can always count on Amanda for is that wonderful voice and space to really allow us to be present with ourselves. And so I hope you got as much out of that as I did. I feel like I set it all aside, know what's happened the rest of the weekend, and now I'm fully present here with you. Thank you, Amanda, for that. So as we move on, when we talk about this integrative approach, everything that we do with our company, we focus on physical, structural, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So that is true when we're doing Reiki. People have a tendency sometimes, if they're looking into Kundalini Reiki, to think of it as more of a spiritual or energetic form. And in some ways, perhaps that's true. But we also, especially in Kundalini Reiki, we take time to look at the physical being, the human form that we're moving around Earth School in, and what can we do to lovingly support that. And we also look at our mental emotional states, any thoughts that we have had up until now that are no longer in service of us, finding a way to release those, and or a way to incorporate those new thought patterns we'd like to have. So in our approach, we look at those as well as what you may expect to be sort of an energetic approach, taking a look at how we would work with source or the oneness or the universe or the Mother Earth or God or Allah or Buddha or Jesus or the oneness or whatever it is to you. And so one of the things that's beautiful about this particular practice is it doesn't have to be a part of a particular faith, but it will be in alignment with whatever your value system is. So today you'll be expected to fill that in the blanks for that, right? For whichever one of those models work for you as we move through it. One of the things that's interesting about Kundalini Reiki is its relatively newer form of Reiki than recommend some others. So when we study the history and look back at some of the other forms, obviously this has all been around forever, but it was refound in 1992, which is like, for me, pretty new. So that's a new form that we're studying, we're working with specifically. One of the other things that's interesting is that, you know, a lot of people get drawn to it from Kundalini yoga, which is something that Amanda could speak more to as a yoga instructor and practitioner. I am still slowly working on my certification, but Amanda's been a practitioner for a long time, and so she could talk to us about the aspects of how Kundalini works there. But in general, you'll hear a lot of different definitions and explanations, everything from working with Shakti and Shiva energies and those sorts of things, to the yin or the yang parts of the energies, the masculine and feminines, and how those come to play and come to work in Kundalini. And when you work, if you're a UC practitioner, you probably work to know that we all have our own way in which energy speaks to us. And so the way we see, feel, hear, know, smell, or taste energy is different than everyone else's. There are those of us that literally see it. Perhaps people see like spirit or energy forms. There are others that just, you know, they'll have an olfactory sense. The smell will come up and it'll be the smell of their grandfather or something, right? And it'll take them to another space in time. There are those that will have a particular gustatory, they'll taste something, and that's how energy speaks to them. Others have tingling or sensations or things like that. And so all those things may carry over into your Kundalini practice as well, if you're already working with energies. And so of course you'll customize and make your Reiki experience your own. Amanda and I train people in level 1, which is when you start working with yourself with Reiki and some of those basic self-healing opportunities. Level 2, where we start looking at things like, I don't want to forget them all, so I'm going to double check my list, but we look at things like how to clear a home or a space, how to work with animals, how to clear crystals if you're working with stones or those sorts of things. And maybe Mandy, you'll have your list, you can help me if I've forgotten some others. But in level 2, we cover some of those external things. Once we've done some work on ourselves, we start to work in some of those ways externally with using Kundalini to clear spaces and places and things. And then in level 3 is where we get to the part that I am most passionate about. And I have to say, when I first had this experience, it was truly just life-changing for me. I had been, you know, practicing so many forms of energy work and mental, emotional healing and physical, structural health and wellness. But the level 3 just put me over the top. So in level 3 Kundalini, it's considered 3 treatments is considered a session, which is unique from some other forms of energy work. So typically you experience it in 3 at a time. Now, I have had people that said to me, you know, does it require 3? Do you have to do 3? And I'm going to tell you a little secret. When I first got started, I didn't want to put any limiting beliefs or ideas out there anyone. And I didn't want to tell anyone like, well, you must have 3 or else it will not work. Right? So I was absolutely opposed to saying that. And so even though that's how I was trained by my master, I never said that. We would just do a session, see how you feel. Let me know if you think it would be beneficial to do another session in the future. Right? So that was sort of the way I approached it, because I had this story that I didn't want to limit people. Right? And every time we ended up doing 3 sessions, and finally I'm like, we just do 3. It's just how it works. We do 3. And so it took me a while to find comfort with that. I certainly hope you'll take your own approach if you choose to go on and be certified and trained in Kundalini and decide how that works for you. But I found that kind of humorous, because I was really committed to not limiting it. And then I find that like, we always work in groups of 3s, and it works beautifully when we do. So it is. I love 3s anyway, right? So although it isn't required, many people find that you absolutely can get an instantaneous healing experience from one Kundalini experience. Now, when we look deeper into the Kundalini, one of the things that I really love about the level 3 is we do a full practice. And I'm just going to tease you a little bit by telling you what that would be. Of course, you open the session calling in some energies, right? And then we do something called diamond Reiki. That's just really opening us up to saying, what is it that we would, that we're going to be working on today? What's being called for? Is it more physical, structural? Is it more mentally, emotional? Is it more spiritual? And it gives the energy a chance to kind of speak to us and let us know what is being called for. Now, you may go into the session with an intention saying, hey, I called Sandra and I asked for a Kundalini session because I got this low back thing, right? And so it might be that, or maybe you called and you said, I feel like I got this thing going on with this relationship and it just feels unresolved, you know? And so you may have come in with a particular intention, physical, structural, mental, emotional, or spiritual, but during the diamond Reiki, the practitioner gets the additional story, the stuff that maybe you didn't even know that you knew, or you haven't told practitioner you're looking for. Then we move into something called crystalline Reiki. And through crystalline Reiki, we're really working with the physical structural. So we're going in there and finding any stuck energies, ideas, traumas, anything that may have been stuck physically, structurally in the body. And we start moving through some of those. And again, this is all more complicated that if you choose to get certified and trained, we would explain it far more in depth. But today's an intro class, so I just want you to get a feel for the kinds of things it can do, right? And then we move on to DNA Reiki. Now, this part was fascinating to me because I've worked with many people in the past that come to me and say, well, you know, my mom had diabetes, her mom had diabetes, so of course I'm going to have diabetes. I go, oh, wow, you're a unique being. That isn't necessarily true. And sometimes they'll even come to me and say, well, you know, I have a genetic predisposition. And some people even go so far as get tested and say, well, genetically, I have, right? And I understand all that. And remember, when I was diagnosed with my brain aneurysms, I was shocked to realize that it was something that was a genetic, I'd been born with it. You know, they were easily able to identify the pieces and say, oh, you were born with this. And I had no idea that it was similar to something in my dad, right? And so I was like, oh, and it instantly went and wanted with every core of my being to have my son tested, right? Because I was like, whoa, right? I lived, you know, all these years since I didn't want that. But what we know is that that isn't necessarily true. So there's all sorts of phenomena why something isn't genetically transferred. And it's my truth that they may have just made a decision to break that karma, right? Break that energy cycle. So we are not necessarily disposed to that. And if up until now we had the thought of that, and therefore we were drawing it to ourselves, maybe consciously or subconsciously drawing it to ourselves, we could stop that process. And Kundalini Reiki has a beautiful protocol for doing that called DNA Reiki. The other thing I think is interesting is it's not just talking about genetics as we know it, but it also under DNA Reiki, we can move epigenetics. If that's a common term for you, you're probably as fascinated by it as I am. But when I first heard it, I had no idea what it was. So I often tell this story to people because it helps people relate to it. While I was pregnant with my son, I remember a particularly emotional moment with my husband when he was, you know, pretty choked up about this whole becoming a dad thing. And we were talking about it. And he said, what if he inherits it from me? What if he ends up like me? I go, I don't really know what you mean. Like, that'd be cool because I like the way you look. What do you mean? And he's like, no, I'm talking about my PTSD. What if he gets my PTSD? So my husband was a Marine with 21 cases of post-traumatic stress disorder. And he had been working with his therapist and with the Marine Corps in helping to release those memories. But he asked me the question, and it quite frankly had never occurred to me. Although I had done some research and study in epigenetics, I never thought about it. So right away, I started doing a deeper study into it. What could we do to break these cycles? And so, you know, there is some research, depending on your belief systems and what you've studied, about how, you know, there have been children of people from the Great Wars, right? And that they had, you know, even children of Vietnam, which maybe you know some people there. You might not know as many people anymore from World War II, but we hear stories oftentimes of people. I have a client who's, you know, father was a German soldier in World War II, and she talked about some of his traumas and so on. So when we look at that part of it, I feel like it's really amazing to know that Kundalini Reiki looks not at only at DNA, but genetics, but also epigenetics. And so there's an epigenetic healing. So if there's a story that's maybe been passed down, we can break those chains as well. You can see why I'm in love with Kundalini. Are you starting to pick up why Sandra Grace loves Kundalini Reiki so much, right? If you haven't found anything you can relate to yet, trust me, it's yet to come. The next thing that we work with is called birth trauma Reiki. If anyone has experienced in their process of coming here to Earth School, right, when their spirit or their essence or their soul or whatever you call it, connected with the human form and then, you know, breathed its breath here on Earth School, there are times in which there could have been a trauma associated with that. And so we go back and heal that from the very beginning, because you can imagine anything that we brought through with ourselves up until now, right? Whether it happened as in our birth or in our youth or in our teens or, you know, whatever the case may be, as long as it stays with us, we continue to repeat those stories, those patterns, and we can break those stories of the pattern at any time that we choose. We have the power to do that. And so we teach and train people to do that. There's one that I think is really fun too. It's called location Reiki, and it can heal any energetic bonds or situations you have with a particular space or place. So if there's a location in which there was, you know, a lot of times, like a simple example would be like if there was an accident, like there was a car accident, right? And then every time you drove by that space, right? So Michael and I had a car accident a few years ago, and it was right next to our home. And so every day we left for school, I would notice him like tensing up when we got to that corner, right, where we were sideswiped. And so we went in and did some location Reiki on it, and we healed any association we have with that location, and we actually healed that location within itself too. right? And so you can do location Reiki. That's pretty cool, huh? And then for those that believe that the spirit, the soul, the essence will find its way into the human form, and when it's released may come back in human form again. So people who believe that we may have the spirit, the soul may have more than one life, there is a division called past life Reiki. And so there are people who believe that some of the things that they manage here on Earth School are because that they've carried them in with them from previous lifetimes. And so in Kundalini Reiki, we not only work with the present lifetime, but for those who believe, we also work in past life. And then these are the ones that I think you're going to love today. We work with healing karmic bands, which is a relationship. If there's a relationship we have with someone, or a karmic band relationship with someone, there is a particular protocol that we do that is phenomenal. Like there's lots of things that I've done before, I've worked with before with different forms of energy work, cord cuttings, things like this, ceremonies, so on. Love all of it. And this one is so simple. And then there's healing situations or personal qualities. Like if there's an interview coming up, or if you had an argument with someone, right? So that might be a situation that you're asking for healing about that situation, right? Or a meeting that's about to happen. It could also be applied to something like a personal quality. Like if up until now you found yourself experiencing a lot of jealousy or frustration or whatever, it's a personal quality that you would like some assistance with. Then we do something called balance Reiki. So much like the diamond Reiki sort of called us in and gave us a chance to find out at the beginning, like, what are we working on? Balance Reiki brings everything back again, physically, structurally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, brings us all back together in that. And then we have a closing ceremony that we do. So one of the things that is important as we get started today in our deeper understanding of it, before I pass things back to Amanda, I want to cover this and make sure that we have clarity in it, is that during a typical Kundalini session, someone might experience all of these that I talked about to you. So I often, if I'm doing a ceremony, I'll call someone in and I will actually go through it from the very beginning. That first one, we just do all of them all the way through. And if we start off and they go, yeah, I'm not really past that person, I go, okay, we skip that one. But other than that, we do them all. Or maybe we're doing it and someone says, hey, I really want to focus on this personal quality, or I really want to focus on this situation I got going on. Great. So we spend more time on that. It's not required to do that. I like that because for me, I find that a lot of times when I'm working with people, there's stuff they don't even really know contributing. Like if there's something that's like epigenetic for them, or if there's a location thing that they haven't really, cleared up for themselves, I tend to do them all because Sandra has a tendency to go in and just like, when she's doing it, she does the whole thing, right? Like I don't often just clean a room. I clean every closet in the house when I have that day, right? So that's sort of how I do things. And so that works for me. But Amanda will give you a different perspective on this, which is part of why we make such great business partners, because she frequently works with people and literally just spends the whole session narrowing on one specific area and gets phenomenal results in that way. So I love the flexibility of Kundalini Reiki if you choose to be trained in it further. And so I think you'll really love that. So whether you decide that you'd like to have a session in the future, we're here for you, or we can refer you to one of our many qualified students that we've trained, or whether you have some interest in studying it further yourself. We have certification coming up in November, and it's an online training that you're welcome to join us in. And we do levels 1, 2, and 3 at that time. So I'll give just a tiny little plug. In addition to the 3 levels that we teach in November, we do also train Reiki Master teachers. And so I have trained some phenomenal Reiki Master teachers as well. And so if for any reason Amanda and I didn't feel like the best fit for you, I would be honored to send you to some of the teachers that we've certified as well. But that is a separate training that we do. If you had interest in moving into that, as well as if once you studied it and loved it and wanted to teach it. So we love our role as teachers and educators. We love learning and development. And also Sandra Grace is Saging and Aging. And I see my role as moving up and out in the future. And I want to make sure we leave lots of other beautifully qualified teachers behind. So almost everything we do in our clinic that we do as sessions for people, we also train people to do it for themselves and others. And then we also are now really focusing on training teachers so that when we move on, that there'll be other teachers left behind. So that's part of our mission, part of our progress, part of our commitment, as well as always working from an integrative approach to always really focus on learning and development and training people, because we love to give you a fish for dinner, right? Coming up, we'll do a session for you. It feels fantastic, but we really love to teach you how to fish so that you can eat forever, right? So we really like to teach and train others in fields. So So those are some things that might be interesting to you. Those are some general overviews about what is Kundalini, how does it work, and what might work for you. I'm going to throw things back to Amanda, and then I'll pause the recording for any questions that you might have before we move forward. So a few words from Amanda, then I'll pause for questions, and then we'll give you your experience before you go today.
Perfect. So as Sandra's outlined, there's many different aspects of Kundalini Reiki. And obviously with our integrative approach, it brings in the physical, structural, mental, emotional, spiritual, and your values. And you probably might have had a few that have piqued your interest. You're like, ooh, that one's interesting. Or, oh, I never thought about that one. And we're going to get into an experience, of course, to allow you to actually feel what it is and notice the difference of the shifts of energy. And that's really what Kundalini is about. Kundalini is about shifting energy, whether that is within Kundalini yoga or whether that is in our integrative Kundalini Reiki. So when we go through the session, you will notice different shifts in your energy, and we'll have opportunities for you to become attuned to that. Another way to become attuned to energy is to be able to vocalize your energy, to be able to ask your questions. So as Sandra has teased, we're going to pause the recording now and give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. All right, so now that the questions are answered, and for those of you who are watching the recording, you can always reach out to Sandra and I at info@integrativlifeworks.com with any of your questions, or just feel free to send us a text message as well. That works. So now that we've had an opportunity to move some of that energy in regards to getting our questions answered, we're now going to go into the full-on experience. So this is my invitation to you to go ahead and put down the pens and papers. If you're seated, you can go ahead and adjust your seat so that it's comfortable. I suggest if your legs are crossed to go ahead and uncross them at this point in time. If this is something that calls to you to lie down to do, you're more than welcome to. Just understanding that this may be an opportunity for you to fully release and receive. And so if you are driving a vehicle or operating heavy machinery, I invite you to pause that or pause this recording and come back to it. If you are in a safe place where you know that you can allow yourself to settle, please do so in whatever way your body is calling for you to do in this moment in time. And if it feels safe to do so, you can go ahead and close down your eyes. I'm going to speak to you a little bit about what we're going to experience in this particular session together. And so as you start to settle and maybe use your breath to bring awareness into your body, I'll let you know that we're going to go through a number of different aspects of the integrative Kundalini experience. So we're going to touch on a number of the areas that Sandra has already given us some background on. And as we go through it, I invite you to know that anything that does come up for you is in your highest and greatest good. And within that, there may be some additional things that your attention will be brought towards in your own minds or your own bodies or your own work experience. And at any point in time, you can bring your awareness to them, allow yourself to come back to them after the session. You can journal, you can capture them in whichever way would best serve you in engaging with, healing with, releasing, whatever it might be that it is that you are calling for inside of this session today. And so along with that, we're going to go ahead and open the session. And this is our integrative Kundalini Reiki. And I'm going to give you the opportunity, as I will as well, to call in any of your guides, angels, God, whatever it is that is your self-expression, what brings you a sense of wholeness, oneness, the greatness. Any masters or teachers, people along the way who have contributed. And we're calling them forth with the intention to hold space for this session, for the awareness, for the healing, for the releasing, for the creation, whatever it is that is your intention. And along with that, I'll also call in Master Kuthumi, who is known, credited creator of Kundalini Reiki. And we'll thank him for allowing me, us, all of it, to channel Kundalini energy for this healing session. And so as we call forth and we create, we'll call in from the north, from the south, from the east, from the west, with the intention of supporting us inside of the here and now. And so as we do, we'll move on to Diamond Reiki. So calling in Diamond Reiki, placing an ethereal diamond into your crown chakra, the top of your head, almost as if it was your own crown. And like a real diamond that sparkles, this will light up your main energy channels that run through the center of your body, from the top of your head to the base of your spine. And along with your chakras, illuminating what needs or is being asked or is allowing to be healed, and allowing you to amplify the energies that I'll be channeling for you into you today. And as that goes through, and as you feel that shift, we'll now move on to crystalline Reiki. And this energy will go to crystals within your body and within your aura that have formed due to extreme emotional events, traumas, any kind in your lifetime. And typically these crystals have formed when we've not fully processed the experience of those emotions, and we've not fully released it. And it forms a crystalline structure in order to gather and create and bring together that energy. And perhaps at this time in your life, allowing this crystalline Reiki energy to go through your body, your aura, and beyond, releasing that energy. And you might notice it specifically. You may feel the energy shift, or maybe even a sensation of popping as the crystals are disengaging. You may notice a particular shift in your emotions, awareness, or they may effortlessly disperse on their own. From the top of your head down to the tips of your fingers, all the way down to your toes, releasing any crystals that have formed and allowing it to go further beyond into your auric field, the space around you, knowing that all of this release is within your highest and greatest good. And you are guided and you are protected, and all is well. And as you feel that settle, we'll move on to healing karmic bands. As we transition not only to this space of integrative Kundalini Reiki, but also inside of the transition of our own transformation, whether that be in the movement of our lives and what it is that we draw our focus to, whether it be the movement of the seasons, the movement of our intentions, sometimes the things that can be present for us or can feel as though they're a weight, can be attachments or bands that we've not yet had the opportunity to release or shift our experience with. This is your invitation to allow that. So I'll call upon Master Kuthumi. Master Kuthumi, I wish to send healing Kundalini Reiki to this relationship. And you, as the receiver, I invite you to call upon that relationship. It might be a person, past, present, future. It might be yourself. And as you get further clarity on what that relationship is, feeling the healing Kundalini Reiki, surrounding, supporting, integrating, navigating through that relationship. And you may feel it physically, you may notice it in your mind's eye. You may also feel it going back in time to the aspects of that relationship, the conversations, the words, the feelings, the proximity. And you may even say to yourself quietly in your own mind's eye, I wish to heal the karmic band between myself and this person, allowing the opportunity for acknowledgement, release, healing for all that is no longer serving me. And along with that, it may serve you to visualize a rainbow mist or an evocative movement of energy around you and also around the individual, allowing you to bring resolution to move the space of what it has been. And for some of you, it may serve you to envision a cord, and you may choose to cut the cord, severing it in the way in which that works in supporting you in this space and time, and allowing yourself to either create a knot around that or creating some sort of healing, a cap, whatever it may be that you may be called to. Knowing that this may not necessarily, if you wish, remove the person fully from your life, if you wish. However, it invites you an opportunity to heal that karmic band of what has been. And as that healing takes place, as that resolution takes place energetically in the ways in which that serve you, any other ceremony that you would like to do around this, you're welcome to. Anything that particularly calls you in this moment in time. And as you do so, what may start to emerge, whether it's now, 5 minutes from now, 5 days from now, 5 months from now, whatever it might be, what might emerge is the opportunity to see this relationship, this experience with this person, whether it's yourself or others, in a different light. And at any point in time, whether that calls to you now or later, trust that it'll be in your highest and greatest good to see this in a different light, if that so supports you. And as you finish up this experience, this ceremony with that particular karmic band, we'll now move on to healing situations, issues, challenges, or qualities. And as we do so, I invite you to call upon any of those situations, issues, challenges, qualities that are asking for transformation, movement, healing, resolution, whatever it might be. And as you do so, calling that into your mind, into your body, I'll ask Master Kuthumi, I wish to send healing, Kundalini, Integrative, Reiki energy to this situation or quality, to this issue or challenge, for the highest good and the highest healing of those who hear it in the here and now. And allowing that energy, the acknowledgement, the healing, the release to happen for you in whichever ways serve you in this moment in time. Releasing any experience or thought of how it should be. And giving yourself the grace to allow, to trust that those that you've called forward inside of your highest and greatest good, inside of this session, will support you in releasing and healing all that is being asked, requested, and brought forth. And there may be some questions that you have, and if that is the case, any questions that you may have around that healing, Answers will be provided, and there may be answers that come to mind that you'll be able to call upon later if it serves you, or there may be answers that are acknowledged and released so effortlessly and easily as the rise and release of your own breath. And as we start to draw a close to this session here, we'll call in Balance Reiki. Consider this a type of tune-up, and this energy goes quickly through the body and the aura to balance all the energy systems like meridians, chakras, and balances the lines from elemental and magnetic energy that keeps us balanced and aligned upon earth. And as you feel it goes through, noticing anything else that there is for you to release, knowing it is your highest and greatest good, allowing you to bring balance in the masculine, feminine, the receiving, the releasing, the rise and release, all of it, up, down, in, out, throughout the body and your auric field. And as we draw to a close, I bring forth the energy of gratitude. Gratitude for Master Kuthumi and the teachings of Kundalini Reiki. Any and all of the guides that you and I have called forth, guides, angels, God, universe, whatever your self-expression is, in all directions, north, south, east, and west. And I also draw in gratitude for you for taking the opportunity and have a commitment for yourself inside of your own healing and expression in the world. And as you do so, knowing that this is energy that you can call back, and you may feel residually inside of the next moments, days, weeks, months. And allowing yourself to receive all that is in your highest and greatest good. Just as though you're receiving this beautiful next inhale into the body, allowing that energy to go throughout, and allowing a soft exhale, drawing your energy, your focus back into your physical form. And maybe allowing your next breath to send the energy down to those beautiful toes, and maybe allowing a wonderful wiggle of them back and forth. And with each inhale and exhale, drawing a little bit more energy into the body, a little bit more movement inside of this physical form that we're so grateful for. Maybe some rolls of the wrists and ankles, some bends of the knees, maybe even a beautiful good morning stretch, if that feels good to you. Allowing yourself to bring gratitude into maybe even the smallest of movements into this body. And when you're ready to do so, go ahead and blink, blink, blink your eyes open, fully present, grounded, taken care of, and rejuvenated. And with that moment, if there's anything that calls to you that you'd like to capture, whether it's in your journal or whether it's in your note or whether it's just an awareness for yourself, go ahead and do that. We'll give you a few seconds before we transition back over to Sandra for an opportunity to close out the session.
Please feel free to jot those notes down, anything that came to you, anything that seemed significant or insignificant or related or unrelated, because you may circle back to it later and find it useful. So feel free to take a moment to jot those down. And as you do, I trust that you, like me, had such a beautiful experience thanks to Amanda. There is nothing quite like her voice and her space and grace she creates for people. And so I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. I certainly had some wonderful things come up. One of the things that you'll find is that it doesn't matter how many times you've experienced Kundalini Reiki, life keeps happening. So every day, right, we are in the process of creating more relationships and more things that you can and will heal and grow and develop. And so these done regularly, if you choose to do additional training for yourself, you can do these sessions for yourself as well. And so although it feels lovely to be guided by someone, having the ability to do these anytime you wish, where you wish. So if this would be in service of you, again, remember that we're here, we're teaching in November. They're online classes. They'll be posted on our Facebook pages, or reach out to us and we'll give you the exact dates and times. Maybe Amanda even has them, can share them. I don't have them right in front of me, but I know it's in November that we're doing those. I do know that if you also need some support in additional sessions, please feel free to reach out to us. And if Amanda and I are a great fit, we would be happy to assist you. And or, like I said, we've trained many beautiful practitioners that we'd be happy to refer you to as well. So it's been lovely to spend this time with you. Thank you for giving us this time on your morning. And we'll look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you, Amanda.
You're welcome. Before you actually stop the recording, just so that we do have the dates available, I wanted to just bring that to a close. So it does start on Wednesday, November 9th. So you have that resolution, that closed loop, and then a reminder for you that in doing that process of writing that note of all the things at the beginning of the session, if there's anything for you to do or that you want to re-presence of that list, and you may even notice that some of it has shifted and changed, maybe some of the emotions that are present for you. And if there's anything that you need to tend to on that list, this is the reminder at the end of the session to go ahead and call that back up. And whatever it is that you are doing next in your day, we trust that you'll bring forward this energy and have the opportunity to share it with others, whatever that looks like, whether that's even just a really great hug, whether it's a lightness inside your conversations, or whether it's inside of feeling as though that you have the space to truly nourish your body with water or food or anything. So we look forward to seeing how this develops for you in the next moments, days, months, all of that. Feel free to reach out. We always love hearing from you, and have a really phenomenal day.
Hey, Amanda, tell us again. I remember now that you said it. So it starts on Wednesday, the 9th, and then it goes the 16th. And then do we have a week off for Thanksgiving? And then we come back. So those are the 3 Wednesdays, in case you were wondering, in case you want to look ahead for those. And the time for that is it's Central Time, 6
It's
o'clock?
7 p.m. Central Time.
7 Central, so 8 Eastern. So if anyone is interested in joining us for those, please feel free to do that. Or if you know someone that may benefit from it or like to learn this for themselves, please feel free. So good. Thank you for that. And I love how Amanda always brings us back to our list, because right when she did, I was like, oh yeah, there was other things I was going to do now that it's nearly the end of the hour. And so it's nice how she brings. Thank you for that, Amanda. Thanks for a wonderful experience today.
You're welcome. Take care.